The India-Pakistan conflict is the talk of the world today. While India has not formally declared war against Pakistan, it has engaged in coordinated military exchanges, including missile and drone attacks. This is in the response to the barbaric terror attack which was carried out by the Pakistani extremists in the Pahalgam, part of the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, not just India is in war. We have seen war, in fact, everywhere, Sandhya, like Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, Sudanese civil war, Haiti, unrest. It is a long, long list of wars. So, wars between countries do not break out overnight. It is a gradual escalation due to the long-standing issues or hostilities between countries. I hope you will agree on that.
Yes, yes. Everybody thinks war is only dictated due to political and geopolitical issues. It's not so. There are also laws relating to war. War is typically governed by the international humanitarian law, the object of which primarily is to minimize the impact of armed conflict on nations participating in the war, at the same time safeguarding the interests of the non-participating nations. Okay, it basically focuses on dealing with means of warfare, protecting civilians, protecting soldiers. Typically and historically, there were a lot of treaties and pacts which were signed. And a series of international treaties were signed in The Hague, Netherlands, between 1899 and 1907. That is famously called the Hague Convention Treaties, right? Now, the Hague Convention Treaties established rules and methods for warfare, as well as how hostilities are dealt with, the conduct of warfare, and generally the reasonableness of using arms in a conflict. Right? India was a signatory and is a signatory to the Hague Convention treaties.
Right. So, Sandhya, adding to the list on the treaties, I would say there is also the Geneva Convention, which we signed in 1949. It was exactly signed after the World War II.
Yeah.
So these are a set of 4 treaties and 3 additional protocols which lay down the international standards for human angle of warfare. In particular, the basic rights of wartime prisoners, civilians, and military personnel, and also how to protect civilians in and around a war zone. So India is also a signatory to this Geneva Convention as well.
Right. So I spoke about the Hague Convention and you spoke about the Geneva Convention. So what's the difference? The Hague Convention talks about how to conduct war, whereas the Geneva Convention treaties talk about how to deal with the human aspect or the human element of war. At the core, they are different, but together they form the core of law governing wars around the world.
So there is also the United Nations, the UN, which most of us know very well, which also plays a very active role in conflicted or war areas through diplomatic mediations and negotiations, especially before the break of the war, sending peacekeeping missions that aid reconciliations and resumptions to a great extent of being normalcy. While the UN also can authorize military action under specific circumstances, its primary focus still even today remains on peaceful resolutions and sustainable peace building, I would say.
There is a burning question in everyone's mind whether India has an express law for war. I would like to say that there is no express law in India governing war. Only the President of India has the power to declare war. Of course, the President of India is advised by the Prime Minister of India along with the Union Council of Ministers in this regard. Okay. Now, what does the Constitution say? The Constitution of India also does not have any express provision relating to declaration of war. I can recollect Article 352 is the closest constitutional provision that states that if it is a national emergency, or a national emergency can be declared by the President of India, provided the President of India is satisfied that there is a threat to the national security of the country in the event of war or external aggression or an armed rebellion. Okay. The president can also declare an emergency before the actual occurrence of any of these events.
Yeah. So only if there is a threat to national security and for the self-defense purpose, war can be declared. So the Indian Constitution also does not directly kind of empower the government to declare the war, but it provides a mechanism for declaring a national emergency when the security of the country is threatened, either by war or any kind of external aggression.
Right.
So while the President can declare an emergency based on such threats, it's not the same as the formal declaration of war. I think that's a major difference.
Right. But Subhadra, don't you think this is in stark contrast to countries such as the US? Like if you see in the US, the Constitution of US contains an explicit provision to declare war, while in India, we can respond to war on the grounds of a national emergency. The Constitution does not empower us to directly declare war. We only respond to a threat. Right?
Yeah. And adding to it, Sandhya, I must say, we must also comply with the principles of necessity and proportionality as outlined in the international law as well.
Yeah. Don't you think this was evident in the way in which India retaliated for the Pahalgam terror attack? By striking only terror installations in Pakistan, it did not attack civilians or government establishments. Now, this is indication that we are a defensive country and not an offensive country. Again, this is because of the harmonious and friendly relations clause that we have in our constitution. It's part of our constitution as well as the directive principles of our country. In fact, if you see, India's nuclear weapon development is substantial. It cannot be ignored by the rest of the world. Yet, India's nuclear doctrine is based on the principle of no first use. What does that mean? Now, this means India will use nuclear weapons in retaliation following a nuclear attack on its Indian territory or its forces. The doctrine also emphasizes on a commitment to credible minimum deterrence, meaning that India maintains a nuclear arsenal sufficient to deter any potential adversaries, but avoids an arms race.
One must understand that war is not only a political or geopolitical issue. It has legal ramifications as well. It is important to also understand that legal implications of war encompasses a range of issues, from the formal declaration of war to the rules for armed conflict, crimes against humanity, and post-war conflict. And it is also important for us to understand that the nature of warfare has evolved. So the evolution of technology has in fact made way for cyber attacks, use of drones to replace battle tanks and guns.
Absolutely.
So we have just witnessed, what has been with India and Pakistan, in fact, on the areas. And there is also a lot of debate surrounding the effectiveness of such laws today. However, one must understand that these laws also play a deterring role in declaration or escalation of war between two countries. So we hope this episode was informative for our viewers, especially to understand what are the laws and treaties which are governing during a warfare. So thank you so much for watching us, and we request your continued support. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.